Community, will you join me for our time of meditation, reflection, prayer? Look inward. Breathe deeply. Hold in care this perfectly imperfect group of humans who you are accompanying this morning. Hold in care our wider world. As we know, there is much illness and suffering and challenge and change. This morning we lift up in joy, as is our practice, another Unitarian Universalist congregation in our southern region. Today we joyfully light a candle for our friends at the UUCH in the Pines of Brooksville, Florida. We send them our love and good wishes and are grateful for their presence in our UU association. Blessings to you this morning, Brookville, Florida. Lori Larson shares a joy. Our friend Susan Guthrie, who is married to our previous piano player, Ron Guthrie, has shared that she's just finished a new book of poetry, and Lori has all the details, so go ask Lori after service about it. They're also doing well in their travels in South America. Amber Phelps shares a joy, really an update from last week. Her friend's daughter, Jada, who we were holding in care, who had to have a new central line put in, is doing great and back home, and things went well with that procedure. Thank you for sharing that, Amber. We're so grateful that things are going well for Jada. Volley Perry lifts up that Fossey Perry turned 75 last Friday. Happy birthday, our friend. And she shares that she is still celebrating with this fabulous man, as are we. Happy birthday, Foster. And our friend Elizabeth shares a joy that her mom is slowly healing after falling and breaking her foot. We wish healing towards her. And as we hold these joys, we know there are sorrows amongst us and places in need of more healing. Elizabeth also shares that a friend of hers is dying, and he is only 51 and has cancer. We hold you in that heartbreak. And we think of our friend Doak Mansfield, who was the previous minister of this congregation, who is struggling with a variety of serious health issues right now. We send love and healing to him and to Kathy as she navigates the caretaking work. Love and blessing to all those places in need of care. Joy and celebration and gratitude in all those places that are buoying us up this morning. For all this, may we say amen and blessed be and sing our response together, number 1009 in that teal hymnal, Meditation on Breathing. We'll sing it through 3 times. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. I have a poem for you this morning from the poet Wendell Berry. It's called How to Be a Poet to Remind Myself, is how he starts it. 1, make a place to sit down, be quiet. You must depend upon affection, reading, knowledge, skill, more of each than you have, inspiration, work, growing older, patience. For patience joins time for eternity. Any readers who like your poems, doubt their judgment. 2, breathe with unconditional breath the unconditioned air. Shun electric wire, communicate slowly, live a 3-dimensioned life. Stay away from screens, stay away from anything that obscures the place it is in. There are no unsacred places. There are only sacred places and desecrated places. 3, accept what comes from silence. Make the best you can of it, of the little words that come out of the silence like prayers prayed back to the one who prays. Make a poem that does not disturb the silence from which it came. Will you sing with me once more? Our middle hymn is 289 in that gray hymnal. Creative love, our thanks we give. Will you sing this song of gratitude with me? One of my earliest acts of teenage rebellion was the clandestine creation of my very own Facebook page. My parents weren't so sure about this new social media thing that had taken the world by storm. What would it mean to be able to share my thoughts and ideas, my photos of school dances and cringeworthy inside jokes with everyone in real time, all across the internet? They were hesitant and thought I should wait until I was at least in high school, and I was already precocious and desperate to be cool and connected to my older friends at church, and so behind their backs I made a Facebook page. And while I wasn't social media savvy enough then to realize my fatal flaw, that if I friended all my friends' moms, my mom would likely find out soon, I took the plunge. And I've grown up with this same Facebook account from 2009. If you're friends with me on Facebook, it's the same one. And I've watched, growing up on this platform, how it has changed and evolved. I was there before all the ads, before Marketplace, before Facebook groups, back when it was normal to post pictures of your lunch every day, to exchange pokes back and forth with your friends, and back when about half my notifications were about some digital crops growing in Farmville. And I've seen it change a lot over time. I've seen it become the place where businesses and churches and organizations create pages that share who they are and what they believe, places that are sometimes new people's first interaction with a community or organization. I've watched it turn into the professional platform, the place where I do all of my collegial networking, the place where my peers curate an image appropriate for aunts and grandparents and potential employers, an image that might be slightly different than what you would see on their Instagram feeds or Snapchat stories. And maybe most importantly, I've watched the revolution of social media technology change the course of human life in complicated ways. Do you agree with that, friends? Have we seen it change the world in complicated ways? Yeah. I've watched real community grow in groups where people are able to make true, authentic connections. I've seen buy-nothing communities exchange resources between neighbors. I've seen interest groups and identity spaces where folks with disabilities are able to access community and accessibility in new ways. And that's beautiful and good and worthwhile. And I've watched people using a site that had claimed to be built for community end up feeling more isolated and anxious and overwhelmed than ever before. I've seen the toll it's taken on people's mental health, their body image, their feelings of self-worth. I've seen cyberbullying, the rise of untrustworthy news sources. I've seen the ways that people in all kinds of high places have used social media platforms to perpetuate greed and spread hate and false information into every corner of the internet. I bet you have too. And in some ways, to me, it feels like the wheel of time has turned again and there's a new technology on the rise. Artificial intelligence. And this time, I'm not an 8th grader with very little sense of consequence. Instead, I've watched a new technology come on the scene, one that we were told would be small and good and connective and easy to use, grow larger and larger and more influential, and end up causing some real unchangeable harm in the world. And just like social media, AI is not going away anytime soon. Artificial intelligence, and particularly generative AI, most of what I'm going to talk about today is about the generative AI, is not going anywhere. And so it would behoove us in community to know what it is and to understand the costs and challenges that are coming along with it. My colleague, the Reverend A.J. Van Tyne, who serves as one of the ministers at First Unitarian Church of Rochester, New York, he went to college in my hometown and is married to the first person I called a best friend, and likely one of those first people I friended on that first Facebook page. So he wrote this sermon to his congregation about AI. He says this: "The question for us as a church is this: what do the values of Unitarian Universalism have to say about the use of generative AI? Aren't we Unitarian Universalists supposed to adapt to the changing world? Isn't that what it means to hold transformation as a shared value?" Now, the answer, at least for me, at least for AJ, lies in the understanding that adapting to the changing world shouldn't always mean just one thing. It shouldn't always mean embracing new technology. Sometimes it absolutely will, and sometimes it won't. That's what using our reason and our ethics and centering love means. It means we're engaged in the process, putting in the work to discern what actions truly align with our values and our vision for the world, so we can adapt to a new technology by knowing about it and naming clearly what it does and what the impacts are and how it affects society. And we can adapt to a changing world by choosing how to engage or whether to engage with it based on that knowledge and informed by our values. So, what is it? Artificial intelligence is a broad umbrella term that describes the technology that allows computer models to simulate human learning, knowledge representation, and problem solving. It uses pattern recognition and probability to mimic human brain processes of reasoning and decision making. And it is used in thousands and thousands of different ways in all sorts of different sectors. There are some types of AI, the non-generative kind, that help us with concrete tasks in our lives, right? If you've used speech to text on your phone, there's AI that's a part of that system, right? I happen to use a lot of speech to text when I'm texting people. My brain thinks faster than my fingers sometimes, and there's AI involved in that piece, and that's helpful. AI is used in the medical field to run x-rays and ultrasounds and other tests through their system to improve doctors' abilities to diagnose disease and understand health outcomes. And generally, these non-generative types of AI are less harmful, less complicated to think about because they operate on a smaller scale and they have very specific use cases. And then there's the generative kind of AI, probably the one you're more used to engaging with. The large language model, like our cookie sheet model, based AI that uses the information it's been trained on to create new text in response to user prompts. This generative AI is what you may have used if you've opened ChatGPT or seen the AI search result summary pop up on Google, which apparently is a non-optional feature now, or used tools like Claude or Gemini, or been asked to use an AI tool in your workplace. And friends, I'm going to be honest, I have real concerns about generative AI and the way that through its development and what it does in the world, how that can harm other people. Here are some things I've been learning. So generative AI has been trained by scrubbing the entirety of the internet for its content. Basically, all the blog posts and book reviews and images and data points, even the CAPTCHAs, those things, if you've ever been asked to choose which picture contains a stop sign, that's used to train AI. And all of it is used to create the system. And there was not a lot of consent or permission given to make these large language models and access all this data. It's kind of done without that kind of consent. And in order to create these models so that they're user-friendly and won't just spit out the worst of the worst, the racism and sexism and hate speech that we know is very prevalent on the internet, human beings, particularly in Kenya and other parts of the global south, were paid very, very small amounts of money to spend their days sorting through the most heinous and horrible, disturbing content that exists on the internet to help train these models. We know there's some bad stuff out there, things that would harm you psychologically to have to see, and these people were put in the position to do so. When it comes to the kinds of images generative AI can create, the process is similarly lacking consent. The images are a combination of directly plagiarized original art from human artists who were not asked or paid for their work, and then these models manipulate them with their algorithms. And the ability of these tools to create images so realistic that your human eyeballs cannot tell the difference between the image it creates and something real you've seen before. That, I think, is a cause for real concern. This reality has the power to fundamentally change our frameworks of truth. When we can't believe our own eyes, what can we hold on to? Ultimately, these generative AI tools exist in an attempt to replace human workers, human beings, human input into the system. No need for writers. We have ChatGPT. No need for artists or graphic designers. We have AI for that. No need for computer programmers or software engineers. Sorry, friends who work in that sector. AI has us covered, and no need for office workers or classroom teachers or diagnosticians or mental health therapists, because AI can answer our phones and teach our kids and diagnose our illnesses and solve our mental health problems. And eventually that means a lot of real people are going to go without jobs, without ways to make money and thrive in this world. Let's talk about the money for a second. Generative AI is making a lot of money for certain people, and it tends to be that the people who are making all this money are already folks who are pre-aligned with fascism and causing the suffering we see in our world that we talk a lot about here on Sunday mornings. If you're curious, follow that money. Ask yourself who it is that wants you to adopt and use generative AI tools and use them without question. Last year, Greg Brockman, who's the co-founder and president of OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT, gave MAGA Inc., the super PAC that funnels money into the Trump administration, about $25 million. And in return, this February, OpenAI was awarded a contract from the Department of War to make OpenAI the primary AI tool of the US military. OpenAI tools are now being used for massive surveillance projects of citizens in our country and abroad, and they're being used to create things called lethal autonomous weapons, weapons that can find targets and decide to kill them without any human involvement at all. Friends, there's a lot of human beings set to be harmed by this technology. And that's not even thinking about the environmental costs. AI is also notoriously harmful for our planet. In order for generative AI to exist, data has to be processed in data centers. These are giant warehouses filled with computer systems, and they take staggering amounts of electricity to build and maintain. The irony is not lost on me that this morning we've been dealing with a brownout in the building in a region that recently received new data centers, causing outages on our power grid, something that can be a consequence of data centers in communities. And with these data centers, just like when you've been using your laptop for too long and it gets all hot on your lap, the data centers produce an extraordinary amount of heat. And that heat is currently cooled by fresh, clean drinking water. According to the United Nations, global AI demand are expected to consume between 4 and 6 billion cubic meters of water by 2027, which is about the same amount that a country like Denmark uses each year. And according to researchers at Cornell, by 2030, the current rate of AI growth would annually put upwards of 40 million metric tons of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is about the equivalent of adding 8 million cars. And what I found in my research, between the lack of clear information and the lack of regulation and accountability, and frankly, the desire of these companies to hide this impact and influence, it is a challenge for environmental scientists to truly estimate the full cost. The water, electricity, and resource costs of this technology are hard to pinpoint, but we know that they are real and they are growing. And so we are called to think about the ways this tech can harm our planet. And finally, I think it's worth considering the ways that generative AI is concerning because of how it harms our sense of personal humanity, our interpersonal relationships, our sense of self and ego. For example, for some people, generative AI chatbots have become a replacement for interpersonal relationships. There are people building romantic partnerships with these devices, building friendships. David talked to me this morning about AI marriages and whether or not I would perform one. I'm thinking no. And, removed from that idea, people ask these chatbots to write text messages to their friends, to help them frame conversations with their parents and their employers. A March 2026 study out of Stanford showed the ways that AI people pleases you and encourages this sycophancy, which is the convincing idea that you are right beyond reproach. When people ask for AI's opinion on what they're doing, AI tells you you're right 49% more often than a human being would, including in cases involving deception, illegality, or other harms. Ask AI if it's okay to steal a car, or cheat on a test, or cut off your relatives. The answer might be yes. And in their human experiments, even a single interaction with the sycophantic AI reduced participants' willingness to take responsibility and repair interpersonal conflicts, while increasing their own conviction that they were right all along. If you don't have to take personal responsibility for your actions or own up to your mistakes when you fall short, to me that almost sounds like this AI is fundamentally antithetical to the idea of covenant that we hold dear to us in community. That this idea that we're always right goes against the idea that we exist in community and need to learn from one another and apologize when we make mistakes. We've seen the stories of AI encouraging people to self-harm, stories where it has so deeply convinced someone of their abilities and their rightness that they've taken great personal or financial risk. This tech is making us less humane and less compassionate, all while convincing us we are right in the process. Friends, I know this is a complicated issue, and my viewpoint here may not be popular. You may be sitting out there shaking your head at me. For myself, I want to know about these technologies. I want to know what they do and how they work because they are an unavoidable part of our world. But at some point, I have to use my brain and my reasoning and my morals and my values and my Unitarian Universalist faith to decide if it's something I want to use regularly. In the words of Pope Leo, who conveniently dropped an encyclical about this topic this week, I don't know how he knew that I was preaching about this week. Me and Leo are just on it today. But he said, technology is never neutral because it takes on the characteristics of those who devise, finance, regulate, and use it. Generative AI is not neutral, and for me, the cost is too high, so I don't use it. I avoid it in my personal life. I've changed my browsers to browsers that don't put forth more AI content. I don't use it in my ministry work with you. If it's not worth me taking the time to research and think and write it out, then I don't include it in a sermon for you all. I value my relationships with you too much, and I value the words I say to you too much to farm that task of writing my texts and emails out to something else, even if it's faster or easier. And as you continue to share the ways you're using generative AI, I will continue to caution you to see the consequences. I will continue to welcome you to share with me what you are learning and what you know to be true. And I will trust you to use your wisdom and your reason to make good and thoughtful choices. Because using our wisdom and reason together in community is what it actually means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Prolific theologian and Unitarian minister, Professor James Luther Adams, died in 1994, a few years before the social media boom really began, and back when artificial intelligence would have sounded more like something from the Twilight Zone than something every person had access to in their pocket. In his lifetime, he wrote a foundational idea for Unitarian Universalism, the 5 smooth stones of liberal religion, the first of which is the idea that revelation is continuous. That means just as the world grows and changes and moves forward, so does God or Spirit or the sacred truths of the universe, how you understand it. It moves forward too. There is new wisdom always coming our way. May we treasure this smooth stone. May we be open to that wisdom. May we be curious about the changes in the world, about new technology, new science, new ways of working. And in our curiosity, may we remember what doesn't change. May we remember to breathe with unconditional breath, the unconditioned air. May we hold true that there are no unsacred places, only sacred places and desecrated places. May we hold to our commitment to one another and the earth, our belief in fairness, compassion, and integrity. May we use our precious power of reason, the great gift of these human minds, to make thoughtful decisions about the ways we meet the changing world. Even when we disagree, my friends, may we do this discerning work together. Blessed be, and amen. And now will you rise in body or spirit to sing with me our closing hymn. It's called As We Carry This Flame Forward, and you'll find the words and music in your order of service. Let's sing.
Let us take a moment to extinguish our chalice with these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Dramatic pause, sorry y'all. Friends, our worship service now comes to a close. I will be at the back of the sanctuary to greet you, and everyone is welcome to head to Fellowship Hall for coffee and conversation. Reminder, if you were here last week or if you weren't, we filled out these I need cards. There's a vase in Fellowship Hall where you can pick out something that someone needs, and maybe you are the person who can meet that need. So give that a look if you're curious, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, come find me after and I'll explain it more. Let's go forth with these words from Reverend Sam Trumbore. Go forth in simplicity. Find the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness and peace and ease. Welcome the stranger. Open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate. Hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people. Amen. Blessed be, and let's go out singing our rite of community, May I Be Light in You. everyone. Blessed be, and go in peace.